Hello folks, welcome to Horsemanship 101 again today. Today I want to talk about worming or deworming, depending on how you want to look at it, and how we do it, why we do it, and how often we do it, and if we should even do it. And it's a topic that, well, there's enough information out there. I could probably write a book on it if I really wanted to, but I'm just going to do a quick video here and hit some of the highlights, give you something to think about, and encourage you to go find all the same information that I've already read, because there's no shortage of it out there, and it's quite a bit. And without going into the past, I don't think I can properly do this subject, so I'm going to back up to before the invention of paste wormers. Worming was only done by a vet, and it was only done if absolutely necessary. First off, the horse owner wouldn't even call the vet unless there was some, obvious signs that the horse might have some worms or something. They'd call the vet out. The vet would come out, and before the vet would even administer the wormer, which had to be done by tubing back then because they didn't have anything palatable for the horse, so they had to administer it by tube, which was a bit of a process and kind of costly too, because you had to get the vet to do it. So before they would do that, and this was standard protocol, is the vet would come out, and if the vet agreed that, well, maybe the horse has worms, let's check it out. First thing they do is take a sample of the feces and analyze it under a microscope. They would actually look for worm eggs. That was standard protocol. And then, and only then, if the horse actually needed to be wormed, did the vet do it. Now, this is not going back that far. It's something that vets still know how to do. It's not high tech. It's basically just looking at a smear under a microscope. Anybody can do it. And in fact, if you got enough horses to make it worthwhile for yourself, you could even do it yourself. Buy a $200 microscope and learn how to look for eggs, and you can do your own exams. But on that note, something that I like to do, and I think everybody should do, is because since the invention of the paste wormers, everybody worms their own horses, or pretty much everybody does, and it's way too easy to do, and some people don't even realize why they're doing it or if they even should do it. Actually, in many cases, you shouldn't be doing it. A lot of horses get wormed that probably shouldn't get wormed, and this little girl right here, I actually took a sample into the vets and had them analyze it last fall, last time she was due, because around these parts people typically do it twice a year, spring and fall, which is about every 6 months because we have 6 months of winter. So anyhow, I took the sample in, had it analyzed. Guess what? 0. So I didn't have to worm her because we got, well, part of the contributing factor is, we got a lot of open space here, 60-acre pasture. There's only 3 horses here, and the other 2 also get wormed on a regular basis. So the odds of them contracting worms is pretty slim, unless some wild animals like the deer or something, which are no respecters of fence. They'll hop in and out of the pasture like nobody's business. They can always leave some on the land, but if the horses are moving around enough and they got enough room and they're spread out enough, chances are they're never going to get, they're not going to be eating where there's feces that is contaminated with worm eggs, so they aren't going to contract the worms. So this, on the subject of, is it even necessary to worm a horse? In many barns and stables, it's actually mandatory to worm the horse. They need to be done on a regular schedule, according to them, and I'm pretty sure that absolutely none of them are ever actually checked, have a fecal count done on them before they worm them. That's just standard practice. In fact, it's demanded in many cases. You can't go into a lot of barns and stables unless your horse has been wormed, and as long as you're there, you have to take part in their routine, their schedule, which I have no idea why they do it. It's ridiculous. Because they don't even check to see if the horses need to be done. The only time it's even an issue is if you got an overpopulation of horses in a very confined space, which some places do have. But even then, if all the rest of them are being wormed, chances are that yours isn't going to catch any and probably isn't going to give any. So you can always, if you insist, you can maybe insist that you're going to worm your own horse, And so, you can grab a wormer tube that's empty and, maybe fill it up with some baby pablum or something, and they won't know the difference. I'm not advocating deception, but I just don't believe in pumping poison into my horse if I don't need to. And it's very easy to do. By the way, I've had some people say that it's actually costly and it's hard to find a vet that can do it. You know what? Every vet can do it. If your vet can't do a fecal exam, you better find a new vet, because every vet can do it. And as far as cost goes, it's about the same as a tube wormer. So if your horse doesn't actually need to be done, you're not out any money. You're going to be spending the same amount of money as you would if you bought the wormer, and without having to poison your horse. And that's how I look at it. Some places, like I said, around here, it's common practice to do spring and fall. It's fairly normal, twice a year, every 6 months. Other places, boarding facilities and such, they might actually have you do it every couple of months. I have heard of cases of horses that move around from stable to stable, barn to barn a lot, such as race horses and such. Some of them actually get done, from what I have been told, as often as every 2 weeks, which to me is absolutely ludicrous, because a horse couldn't possibly contract worms in that length of time. And even if they are in a stable with a lot of other horses, chances are they don't have worms, and so they're not going to catch any. So don't worm your horse unnecessarily. I mean, the companies that make this stuff, I'm sure they'd love to have you worm your horse every 2 weeks, but don't do it. Have a fecal exam done. Any vet worth its salt can do it. It's not a high-tech process. All it takes is a little bit of an exam under a microscope, and that's it. You can even learn how to do it yourself. If you have enough horses to make it worthwhile, it might be something you want to consider, especially if they're at home and you don't have to go out to get them and everything. It's probably well worth it. There are also alternatives to commercial wormers. A product I used to use was diatomaceous earth. There's no need for it, so I haven't been using it lately. But it also it's inert. It doesn't dissolve. It is not absorbed. It passes straight through, but it actually will kill off and scrape out all the worms that are in the digestive system and other parasites, and it is completely harmless. It's actually even human safe. So you can actually get it food grade that's even safe for humans, and some people actually even take it for themselves. It's something that I have found some information on. I've come across a couple of really good articles on it recently. Years back when I first started using it, I couldn't even find any information on it. Just mostly word of mouth. There was lots and lots of farmers that used it on everything from chickens to hogs to, the cattle, the horses, everything. They all got treated with diatomaceous earth, added into their feed, and it prevents worms. It keeps them from building up. And by the way, don't panic if your horse does have some, because it's actually a natural part of the system. A small amount in their digestive system isn't going to hurt them. Wild horses pretty much always have worms, to a certain extent, a very limited number. They don't get the kind that domestic horses would get, because they don't live in the population concentrations that domestic horses have. They move around a lot, so they aren't eating off of contaminated ground where there's a lot of eggs and stuff. But chances are they probably get them, and who worms them? Nobody. They never get it. And yet, horses have survived for thousands of years before they had wormer. Just one more of those things that, are we really helping them, or are we hurting them? And if you do get a horse that's got a really bad case of worms, actually administering a wormer can actually kill them. Because if it kills off all the worms in one shot and they all release at one time, they can actually plug up the gut and cause the horse to colic, and it can actually kill the horse by deworming it. There's also lots of horror stories out there that are a bunch of crap too, because one I come across years back, a horse that was administered a wormer and dropped dead, shortly thereafter, and they blamed it on the wormer. The fact of the matter is, if you can believe the manufacturers, the wormers actually are safe up to 10 times the proper dosage. In that case, the horse had nasty ulcers and everything else, and they blamed it on the wormer. And those things don't just show up instantly. The horse had pre-existing condition, and it was just a complete coincidence that the horse died at that particular moment. However, Horses can have sensitivities, like I talked about with other products we use on horses. The wormer itself, also the chemicals in it, or even the base of it, the horse might have a sensitivity to it. You might have an inflammation of the gums and the tongue and the mouth and the throat. You could have all kinds of adverse effects from it. Not every horse can actually tolerate a wormer. So, more to consider. Do you really want to be sticking something in your horse that you don't even know whether or not it's good for it? I don't want to take a chance. I've never had a reaction yet with this one when I have wormed her. And when I first got her, I actually wormed her 3 times in a row because she had a really bad parasite load. We got that cleared up, and after that, we've just been in maintenance since then, and she's been good because she hasn't been in the same situation. Whatever. We got rid of the initial problem, and so she's been fine. And we're not going to worm her unnecessarily because I'm not going to stick a bunch of chemicals into her that she really doesn't need, because those are toxic chemicals. They're designed to kill all the parasites and worms. So, even though they tell you it's safe for your horse, is it? You got to wonder. So, just a few things about worming to think about. Don't do it if you don't have to. Spend the money on a fecal float or a fecal count, different names for it. Have a fecal smear done, have them examined, and see whether or not the horse even needs to be wormed in the first place. If it doesn't, please don't do it. Think about your horse, okay? Have a good day, folks.